I have to cut this call so that I'll get
Okay,
that.
okay, 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 fine. Hello everyone, how are you doing? We will start our session soon. Hi Anjali. Only fellowship people have joined. अमर भाई कैसे हैं? Hi, Kavya. Are you? Hello. You're not
Yes, am I
audible.
audible now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. My
Hmm.
audio was not connected then. Yeah.
Yeah. So hello everyone who have joined. So we are back with our conversation series today. Uh, we are joined by Kavya Poornima. She is our fellow, my friend and colleague from NCPDP, and we are doing our fellowships in our states like Jharkhand and Andhra Pradesh respectively. So today's topic actually basically I wanted to actually explore on the issue of accessibility and disability. And when I talk about accessibility, I'm because generally it is perceived that the accessibility thing is you know you know from a particular context. Like for example, when I was in Mumbai in this, I felt that most of the discourses were around the urban elite cities, and that discourse was not percolating in the you know in the third tier cities or hinterlands in the rural areas. So I felt that I always wanted to have this discussion ki, what actually it means for the common masses, and how can we simplify the jargons actually, because most of the people who actually needs to be aware have to have simplified and more approachable ways of communication with them. And so in this regard actually I have thought that we should have a discussion, and let's see where we can go. Today's guest and my friend Kavya Punyama has joined. So before we can join, let's have a brief introduction, and kindly tell us about yourself and your background, basically.
Thank you, Mahavir. Thank you for having me for this live today, and also for discussing on this important topic that we quite often miss on because we always talk about accessibility from like in general from the urban context, but I mean, it's uh, pretty. I mean, it's a common topic, but then it is not discussed with the background of a rural or maybe from a village context point of view. So I think here we are here today to discuss about this particular topic with our own experiences and perceptions, and we are also sharing our opinions on what all we understood. So now talking about like introducing myself, I am Kavya Poornima Balajepalli. I am from Srikakulam. From no, it's a small town. It's a now it's a developed town in northern part of Andhra Pradesh, and now I'm based in Visakhapatnam. So it's also a city in Andhra Pradesh. And I did my graduation in architecture from the University of Mumbai. So now currently I am engaged with NCPEDP, working on accessibility in public spaces of Visakhapatnam. So I'm pursuing this theme. Apart from this, I also parallelly working on the uh, documentation of perceptions of architecture fraternity, like what is the understanding of architecture fraternity. So to elaborate this, architecture fraternity is mainly I am focused on the professors and practicing architects and the students of architecture who are now studying architecture. So understanding their uh, like understanding what all they know about barrier-free design, accessible design, and universal design, and what are the initiatives which are going on taken by the government of India and everything like that. So I think I'll talk more about this further. So yes, Mahavir, you also introduce about yourself so that it will be like a conversation rather than
Yeah, obviously.
yeah.
So basically, uh, as I have already mentioned about my background in the previous sessions, that
Yeah.
I basically have done my masters from in urban policy and governance. So I happened to do this dissertation, which
Hmm.
was like on the built environment and accessibility, and I was doing the socio and political analysis of the phenomenon actually. And in that dissertation, I also looked into the historical aspect, how built environment and the discourse of universal design came in historically. And
Hmm.
I found that most of the literature was from the American context, and that is how I got it piqued my interest, that why enough literature is not produced from the Indian context. And in fact, there were a few like literature I could come across, but unfortunately, most of them were just a copy paste version of Western models.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
and also when I talk about the disability sector also, before coming to this, I also had very less exposure in terms of like what is the pedagogy and what is the correct term to use. So for me, it was also, even though my disability was from like almost from my birth, but from pedagogic and from a from a very pedagogic sense, I was not that much aware. So um, that this experience actually helped me to understand various perspectives. But still, I feel that I need to know more about other disability as well.
Right.
So moving on. Uh, so I came into this fellowship, and my topic was basically to look into the government schemes and their access to the person with disability and what is the challenges behind that. And I found that most of the places I visited, I felt that most of the government offices in village panchayat and in the block offices, it was mostly inaccessible. But I found that still that discourse and understanding with the authorities was not there, and with the um, it was a very, so I understood that we have to, make them understand the basics of the accessibility. What is the accessibility, what is the harmonized guidelines, for instance, what is, what can be done practically, because I found most of the time that the harmonized guidelines, um, which is the guideline to implement universal access basically. So I found that it is very complex document, and so I felt that it is important that we should simplify that document in order to make them understand.
Right.
So what is your opinion, and how, like, you feel the laws and regulations can be you know
Okay.
made
So,
accessible to them?
yeah, so to talk about laws and standards, before that, I think I have to talk about how uh, I came into architecture, like
No,
how my interest developed towards architecture and what is my understanding about architecture. Then maybe I
yeah,
can talk about my understanding of accessibility and the standards and laws, because that's
right.
how, I mean, if the context is missing, then maybe they won't, like, that won't make any sense if I say that I have this understanding of laws and standards. So to begin with, how I developed my interest towards architecture is during my school days and yeah, my childhood. I was born and brought up, as I mentioned, in Srikakulam. So I was born and brought up in a very old vintage house. So it was a 200-year-old slope-proof tiled house which had a lot of like multiple courtyards and gardens and everything. So that's when, I mean, when I was growing up, I was not that aware that my house itself had a very like huge impact. Like it has that impact that created on me and my mindset, that observing other houses and observing the streets and other buildings was like it became a part of my daily routine. Like whenever I used to go to any class or maybe school, I used to observe everything. So that observation made got me so many questions, that how these constructions happening and how this is evolving. Like my house is very old and like very much traditional and everything, and all the other buildings which were actually coming up were all almost having glass facades and like constructed by the use of concrete and other materials. So how this kind of colonies, and like from streets to colonies, and then the whole town is getting developed, and what is the
Mm,
influence, and is there any background? These were the questions as a child. And then slowly after growing up, though, I mean, I have this background of learning classical dance. So art form has also a very like big connection with this. So when
mm,
learning and practicing the dance forms, the use of spaces also had this I had this curiosity to understand how other people are practicing, and how their homes are accommodating their I mean like creative side of them, how these spaces have some particular influence on learning something. So these things, like I always pondered on these things, and then slowly I understood that spaces have that connect, and the evolution is happening because of the influences which we have from the Western architecture. So the use of materials also got like transformed, and then the local techniques got slowly, I mean, now I can say it almost vanished. So during my 12th standard, I like finally understood that that is my interest, that I want to know about the art and science behind the buildings and the construction. That's when I
yeah,
came into architecture. So there is a lot of interconnection between the art and the usage and like my background of
correct.
bringing up. So then talking about, I mean, I told about the architecture part. So now talking about accessibility. So accessibility as a term definitely was unfamiliar to me because I was never told about such term, like there's such term that we use for barrier-free design. I was only aware of barrier-free design, that too in when I was in my third year. There was this topic which was
Mm.
a part of electives. So electives is something in you will leave in choice. If you are interested, then you will do it. Otherwise, you will just leave it. It's not that important that you have to really think of and work on it. So they just introduced barrier-free design, and then they just said that this design is for disabled people. So it's not. Then disabled people is someone you. I mean, growing up in a town and even in a joint family, I had people with disabilities in my home itself. But then this thought never came to my mind that how these people are going to, I mean, go out and access buildings, because in towns and in, I mean, in this context, the understanding is this way कि it will be both the extremes. Like if you have a disability, if you are willing to do something in your life, then you will try adjusting yourself and getting adapted to the built environment, and then you go and you struggle and then you do your job. Second thing,
Correct.
if you have a disability, then people and the society will just stay, like say that you have to stay back at your home. You are not capable of doing things. So you just stay back at home. You can't do anything basically. So there won't be any that kind of support provided. So these are two extremes. There is no midway that people have this proper understanding of disability, and then how uh, scenario should be there, and how people have to accept them and accommodate them. These things were never there. So this was my understanding back then. And
Mm.
when I was introduced to barrier-free design, I told you that it was an elective subject and it was not focused that much. So
Mm.
after like slowly understanding that how barrier-free design can have, like maybe luckily I can say that I came across few articles during those days that I understood that okay, accessible design is something that you are welcoming people with these kind of limitations into the building and make them use and take like how the other person is using. You are just making the design that way that both can use equally. You are
Mm.
like providing that equal balance in the design. So this I understood, but then there were several questions because you don't really see most of the disabled people coming out and studying in the universities, or maybe like you don't see people in the general population, or maybe you see but then you don't really think of them that okay, these people also have life, and these people can also get education and do whatever just we do, like we do.
Yeah.
And then coming to the major shift, when in 2017 I acquired my disability due to a rare neurological condition, and I lost my vision in both my eyes, and I became almost blind, and I currently have 2% visual vision in my right eye, and I don't have anything in my left eye. So it's like almost 98% blindness in my right eye. So I became visually impaired, and
Mm.
I have developed other mobility limitations, that I couldn't move out of my bed for almost 2 years. And whenever I used to go to any hospital, I couldn't walk. So I had to opt a wheelchair. Even in the airports, I need this wheelchair support. Because I can't walk for longer time, and I can't sit for longer hours due to all the limitations. So these
Mm.
all personal lived experiences enhanced the idea of accommodations, and I always used to connect this with the design part because of my background, that
Mm.
if this is the case, if I want to use the environment without any obstructions, then how can I accommodate these things into the design, incorporate them, and think of an accessible design? I mean, I
Correct.
used to put myself in the shoes of a designer because I have this background. So I used to think from both the ends, user and design. So slowly, after interacting with the disability community, that
Mm.
happened last year. Till last
Mm.
year, I was almost in this phase of recovery and then continuing my studies back into architecture, because I had to leave my college. I was left out because of the sudden shift, and then get back to the college and continue my studies back into architecture, and completed my final year. So that was the only goal at that point, that I have to finish my graduation. So during that, I tried going for rehabilitation for my own disability, but then I couldn't find any such rehabilitation which is really accommodating my background. Like, most of the things coming to me from the disability sector was also this key. You have to change your career because your
mm,
disability, the nature of disability is contrasting. So architecture is something you need vision. You can't do architecture without looking at things and understanding things. So we only going with your experience of the space won't work every time in this
mm,
career. So that's when I slowly started to interact with more people in the disability sector, and try to understand like different disabilities and diverse user needs, and then slowly getting into the laws and standards which we have as a backup. Like, I
mm,
know that there is a mistake happening in a building. Whenever I used to access a building, I used to understand that this is not correct. But what is right? I don't know. So if that is the case, then again, there were several questions. If I don't know what is right, then how can I expect any other designer or any other architect to understand what can be right? I mean, why is this gap happening? And where is this gap? How
yeah,
can we make like, how can we work on these things and get them better? So that's when I have started doing this. I mean, I got this fellowship opportunity, and started exploring all the government initiatives and laws and standards, and all the secondary research that I have done throughout this fellowship, and also being a part of few accessibility trainings, and understanding the standards in a like deeper sense, I can say. So that's when I understood that, okay, these are the standards and these are the guidelines that are set. And there is this initiative called Accessible India Campaign, which started in 2015 itself. And it's been 7 years now that the campaign is going on. And yeah, so
actually,
I will
the
talk about the
accessibility is a dream, kind of.
yeah, I will talk about the like Accessible India campaign and everything in detail later. So now, so my understanding about the laws and standards happened this way. Like, that's how I reached out this far. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, your recall of your like childhood and everything, I also happen to have hemiplegia. So
Yep.
basically, my also journey, my realization also towards disability and toward in terms of lived experience, I had this um, I had this realization that their places are not accessible. I am not able to access the places. But most of the time, it was self-induced. I felt that okay, probably I am not good enough, or I need to change, or I need to improve. So most of the childhood, I was in this dilemma that okay, probably I am not correct.
Hmm.
Are you there?
Hello.
Yeah, are you there? Your video is off.
Oh, okay. I think
Hmm.
there is some issue with my network. Wait a second.
Okay, okay.
Like, yeah, you continue, please.
Yeah, so basically my my perception was that I need to improve and I need to get better. So most of the time, whenever I used to encounter any inaccessible places, I used to, try to, get over it by, just trying hard and just not complaining about it.
See,
And
that's
that,
how we were, I mean, even we saw since our childhood, right? I mean, I told about myself and my experiences. So it's towards both the extremes, that people used to get
Mhm.
adapted to that change and
Yeah.
adjust themselves every day, like till their end, till the like rest of their lives, it's like you have to adjust. It's not like they are
Like,
going to do a favor for you. They are not going to make anything better for you. You have to adjust and you have to become more
yeah,
strong to fight that whatever barrier you have, obstacle you
yeah.
have. So, yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, in the school, I remember that my school, I went to the school and it was like my class was, in the second floor. And I remember that we had a chat with our principal and he said that okay, आपके लिए हम for ground floor पे कर देंगे. And I remember that my classroom remained in the ground floor till I was in class 8 or after 8 only it got transferred to like other floor and I was able to. So, but that is the thing. Most of the time we, sort of find institutional ways to cope up the things rather than making the places accessible. We try to just fit कि चलो मतलब उसको थोड़ा सा मतलब कि अगर manage कर ले. And I remember that I used to get scared when I used to use the toilet. I never I tried my level best to not use the school toilet because it was so inaccessible and dirty, so it was not possible for me to use the toilet. But at that moment, I never used to complain because I felt that कि अरे यार complain करेंगे तो I will be deemed very weak or uh, I will not be accepted. My views will not be accepted. So I tried to fit in most of the time. And now when I later on realized in theoretical domain, it is called internalized ableism. कि भाई
Ableist.
we accept the ableism the society is providing us. So
Right.
don't, and that is the journey most of the people who are from the smaller towns and the third tier cities are facing with because they are not you know uh, first of all aware ki what is right, what is the rules and regulations. In fact, most of the my childhood and my most of the teen happened that कि मेरा एज अ डिजेबल मेरे पास एक ही चीज है कि हाँ डिजेबिलिटी सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा रेलवे में कंजर्वेशन में. दैट्स द ओनली राइट आई न्यू एक्चुअली. एंड इन फैक्ट माय फैमिली आल्सो फेल दैट कि तुमको मतलब कि वो मिल जाएगा और हाँ सरकार में एक नौकरी मिल जाएगा बस. दैट इज द परसेप्शन एंड expectation from a person with disability. But
When you
that
were
changed.
talking about your school experience, I just recollected something from my school that like we had one person, he was our senior and he used to come on a wheelchair and people used to assist him and lift him up near the stairs and he was doing his eighth, I think seventh or eighth standard and
Hmm.
he was always lifted up like I mean during the wherever the stairs were, like near the entrance and the staircases everywhere. So my classmates and like people, whoever used to see this, used to feel that these people have their own schools, no? Like this particular, I mean, this exclusion was internalized in the children's mind. I mean, child's mind since their childhood only that these people are having different schools, so they have to study there only. Like with
Hmm.
children with special needs are having different schools, so physically handicapped schools or some like they were named this way. I very well remember one of the schools name was like blind school and then the others was deaf and dumb school. So the
Hmm.
name still continues now. It is not changed. And there were these set of schools available for them. So why do they come to our school? Why do they have to study with us? This particular uh, like perspective was there from the beginning because maybe the discussions we had at our at our home or maybe with our parents or anybody around us, it was that way ki one thing maybe it was about charity and the other thing was about this exclusion within ourselves that these people are not from our like they won't fit in our school, they won't fit in our group this way. So
Correct.
this
Only
yeah.
way to get through it was that you should be very good and brilliant at academics, then only
Yes, yes. That's when
you will
again the
value it.
pressure was there on that person ki they have to prove themselves, like they had to prove
Yeah.
themselves throughout the
But
academics part ki they had to be the topper, they had to be the Olympiad or whatever science exhibitions happen. In that also they have to be topper so that people will
yeah.
come to them and talk to them and like that's how there was a
And
pressure that
that is how most of us make friends कि हाँ मतलब कि कुछ नहीं है तो
yeah.
चलो को पढ़ाई में अच्छा है चलो इससे बात कर लेते हैं बस. And
Hmm.
I used to help many of backbenchers to cheat also. I remember that, and that was my way to socially uh, that ki I for that social acceptance I did that actually to
Right.
that's मेरे को accept कर लो and I'm good enough. But yeah, I now feel that it was a sort of insecurity complex कि चलो अगर help नहीं करेंगे तो I will not be valued.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
meanwhile, you also look into the comments. I can hear the readers
yeah,
that someone is
yeah,
commenting. I think Anjali is
yeah.
commenting. Um,
Yeah, Anjali is saying that that Deaf and Dumb school still exists in Pune. Yeah, that is there.
right.
And there is one question from Amit ji.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, I think is there any organization helping to change architecture of home for people with disability?
Architectural?
Change architecture for homes for the person with disability. There are many organizations like that. In fact,
Yes.
I will later discuss. I happened to do an internship in one such organization in Mumbai. So they do it like, yeah, but at the same time, I have also, since we are discussing this, and you can also give your opinion that I found that most of the architects say that when we are doing our private project and all, and if
Right.
that customer is that consumer is demanding that की accessibility होना चाहिए वो हो जाता है. But there is
Correct.
no norm, ठीक है, जहाँ पे वो मतलब कि बाइंडिंग होंगे कि ये accessibility is a basic thing. So that is the hindrance. That was the perception. That was the practice of architecture. I interacted with in
Right.
my masters. And
Yeah.
also talking about so tell me about your we can so since we have had this discussion, so what do you feel that what is lacking in the harmonized guidelines or implementation of it?
Correct. So now to talk about the implementation of the standards and the guidelines which are available. So we have harmonized guidelines and space standards for barrier-free environment for persons with disabilities and elderly people. So this set of guidelines were released in 2016, and it's a mandate thing that we have to consider post the RPWD Act 2016 started to implement. We like this is a mandate that we have to uh, consider and incorporate these standards in the newly constructed buildings post 2016 and also do the retrofitting of the buildings with respect to the set of guidelines which were provided. So if you fail doing this particular, I mean, incorporating these standards, if you're going against these standards, if you're not considering accessibility in your newly constructed buildings, you have this penalty of 5 lakh rupees that you have to like the builders and the contractors, whoever are involved, and get the certificate. I mean, so you have the completion certificate, and also you have this permission that which is given when you go for a blueprint and get the approval. So the approval phase itself, they have to check that these accessibility standards are followed or not, and if they are not followed, then you have like there will be this penalty that is actually in between 10,000 to 5 lakh rupees, which is given in the law as per law. And after that, even अप्रूवल के टाइम पे अगर बताया गया था फिर भी इन्होंने incorporate नहीं किया है तो during the completion of the building you will get the certificate. So there also this cross check will be done, and there if this is missing then they can also file something there, like I mean they can we can file a complaint against it. तो ये चीजें जो है ये एक्चुअली मैंने जब पढ़ा था, मतलब इसके बारे में जब पढ़ाई किया था, then I got to know about it कि it's a mandatory thing and we have to consider. So now talking about how architecture and design background people take these set of standards and guidelines. पहली बात तो so now talking about a simple example देती हूँ तो we as practicing architects we have to follow the bylaws which was set in their own regions. I mean we have different bylaws for all the states. So for example मैं बात करती हूँ तो मुंबई की बात करती हूँ तो मुंबई is having a set of bylaws that are to be followed if you are constructing, I mean if you are designing any building there. So you have this space limitations there that इतना फुट आपको लेना है, इतना स्क्वायर फुट का इतना प्राइस होता है. सो इफ यू आर गोइंग अबाउट दैट देन यू हैव टू पे मोर. आई मीन आपका प्राइस पूरा मटेरियल का एवरीथिंग कॉस्ट पूरा बढ़ जाता है. सो दैट्स द रीजन व्हाई यू हैव टू स्टिक टू द सर्टेन bylaws that are provided. तो बीएमसी ने वो प्रोवाइड किया है. तो वहां पे ये होता है कि generally from my own experience and also interacting with other people who are practicing in Mumbai, from my like in my colleagues and like my classmates and everybody, वहां पे होता क्या है कि डिजाइन जो करते हैं, like during the design phase we have this thought that we have these set of concepts and we will think of so many other things that we will do these kind of interventions in our design. We will make it stand out and we'll do a lot of experimentation with the design and everything. But yeah, when the concept and everything happens and later part you have to start incorporating these set of bylaws, you have this limitation ki this is the area, you have to stick to this area to design your living room, you have to stick to this area to design your toilet. So there is a like restricted wala feeling that you have these limitations, only in that you have to design. So when you design in these set of restrictions, you can't really go beyond that and really experiment with what you are thinking with the interventions. So here I want to bring this point that during the academics part, during the architecture beginning from the first year, we were always taught about bring some interventions, bring some innovations, do some experiments, do this, do that, get some other different shapes, try like experimenting things. This was the thing which was actually fit into the student's mind by the professors. And then slowly when the student comes...
There's my question also that yes, is it like that experimentation was only limited to the innovation part, or what is like usable bhi hona chahiye? Was it, what kind of experimentation you were talking about?
So experimentation, why these things were actually taught to the students, that students will develop design thinking and think beyond what is visible, like what they see on a regular basis. Like whenever we travel and we observe things, there will be some kind of image which will be freezed in our minds, and then we come to the desk and we start actually working on certain requirement. Then you will actually close your eyes and recollect whatever you saw, and then you will slowly start to relate to that and then start designing. So this design, like improving this design thinking with different experiments, like you don't see these, like you have to come up with something new. And some kind of mix match, and you have to do a set of experiments. So that's what professors expect from the students. But then what is missing here is that, okay, you talk about experiments and everything, interventions and everything, but there if you are not guiding the student in the right direction, that these experiments are again will be used by the society, the users, like the people around you. It's not like some alien will come and use that building. So if people are using and whoever are around you are using, then you have to sit and think that who are these people and how diverse these people are and what are the backgrounds they come from and how come they understand the usability of the design. Like if you do a zigzag pattern, if somebody comes from a very like maybe if I say I come from Srikakulam and I went to a place where the building is totally new to me, that I never saw that and I don't know how to use that,
Mm.
then there's no point, right? I mean, I will be confused, like how, and it will take a lot of time to understand that how these things can be like internalized and then follow on a regular basis. So these like the design thinking should be guided in a right way, and the interaction with the students should happen with the diverse set of users and their requirements. That's when they'll also start thinking. So simple example again here I want to quote is that if we think of designing a house, just sit and think about who are the family members and what are like their interests. So I don't share the same interest with my brother. If I say that my
Mm.
what is your interest about having a home, he is having totally a different list, like completely different list. And for me, home is something very much different with him. And for my mother, it's more about usability of kitchen and whatever
Mm.
spaces she use. So if we sit and think about this way, that just in our family we have diverse set of requirements. So when we think about designing a public space, built environment,
Mm.
which has a lot of interconnections with the building, roads, and all
Yeah.
other like
So we
transportation.
have to have some standards कि हाँ इतना तो होना ही चाहिए at least. Because
Yes.
you were saying about the home. ठीक है, home तो personalized space है. We
I
can
mean, I just
design.
gave that example to
Yeah.
understand the user requirement. So it's, I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
simplified
I
that.
understand.
Uh,
So
yeah,
how do we fit that in the harmonious, like for example I have seen that key harmonious guideline is basically very comprehensive and very in detail, but what happens is sometimes because the architect who's implementing that is not aware of the exact
right.
dimension and everything, they actually I've seen that in a lot of the architecture firm appoint and see the accessibility consultant को बुलाते हैं and they guide कि हाँ ये diameter होना चाहिए, फिर like there is an access audit that goes behind it, but I
Yeah.
feel that even that process is not followed that rigorously, means very
Yes.
few spaces actually use it.
Again, because the lack of understanding of how a user is going to use that space. Like if you are retrofitting a ramp, if you are trying to put a ramp where it was not present before and you are making that. If you are making the ramp very steep, not following the standard which is provided. Standard is nothing but there has a lot of work been done and experiment has been done that how this angle is actually helping a person on wheelchair or maybe who is using a stick, or maybe for a normal person to walk on a slope, like it's not like this steep, it should be in a range like 1:12, that it will make the person walk through it with an ease. It shouldn't be like difficult to step on that
Yeah,
and
it
walk.
shouldn't be abrupt
So
in a sense. I have like seen many ramps, built in a way that it is more inaccessible than using a stair, because they don't follow the right, मतलब कि 1:12 करना है तो like they will 1:1 का भी हो जाता है. Sometimes it is
right,
so
right.
most of the time they do it in mind that कि हाँ यहाँ पे मोटर बाइक पार्क करने के लिए they use it. They don't think that a person can actually use that thing. So
Basically, the point is that so to understand the standards, I mean, I'm talking from again from the architecture fraternity, for them to
mm,
understand the standards and guidelines which are provided by the government. Before that, like going through the standards, before that, they have to understand who is going to use this.
mm,
Agar if there is like this particular like basic understanding of usability is lacking in this, then if they sit and even go through the standards, they will be very much confused and they will be like, it's a lot of I mean, it's too much to even think of to incorporate in a design. It will be too much for them because they start feeling feel this as restriction, that they feel that
Mm,
this is restricting their design thinking, it is limiting their creativity, and it is again bringing it back to a dabba, like they in their sense that it's a dabba, that it's only having all the, I mean, lift is there, accessible toilet is there, entrance is there with the ramp and the railing and everything is provided. So it's almost like for them it's like it's nothing new. It's the same thing. If I make 10 buildings or 100 buildings, if I incorporate this accessibility standards, it will be the same. There won't be any difference with the looks and aesthetics. So again, talking about aesthetics and accessibility is something, it's a very big debate that happens it's a continuous debate that is happening.
yeah. In
Um,
fact,
yeah.
last week, I went to like Ranchi. So the hotel which was we were staying, and it was the conference was actually for leader for OPT, like DPO leaders.
Yep.
So it was a 2 days program, but everything was accessible, everything it was fine. But I found that there is one stair, like one एक stair है जो कि like the whole accessibility चीज को मतलब कि a person with a wheelchair can't even like enter that space. तो उनके लिए ये पर्सपेक्टिव है कि भाई इतना एक्सेसिबल तो हो गया है कि अगर एक ही स्टेयर है, मैं बोला कि एक स्टेयर है तो अगर यहाँ पे अगर छोटा सा रैंप भी हो जाएगा तो दैट विल सॉल्व द एंटायर प्रॉब्लम. तो वो कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव थिंकिंग की लाइक मतलब कि एक छोटा सा मतलब कि ऊपर स्टेप से भी आदमी का इनएक्सेसिबिलिटी हो सकता है, उससे व्हील चेयर नहीं जाएगा. In fact, it was supposed to be, for, person with disability और जो जितने भी, will मतलब कि they were knowing कि क्या क्या guidelines है. But even those organizers, they said that कि इतना दिन में इतना ही मतलब यही space मिल पाया. But it was largely accessible, but still that, understanding कि भाई stair का अगर आप, for temporary cases, you can use that wooden plank to make it accessible कि wheelchair भी घुस जाए. And but I will be surprised to know most of the people who came in that place was from rural areas, and they were not having wheelchairs. So they used to climb by just they used to crawl actually, and they used to go to that places. So that is the state because
There's
once
no
you
point
use
of
the
dignity here, no?
there is no yeah, I can't imagine a person who is in the cities not using a wheelchair and crawling like that and will be okay with that. But I find that that guy I'm talking about, he was like DPO leader of Dumka, like he's a respected guy, but he is still forced to crawl in that space. And that I think he again internalized. चलो ठीक है मैनेज कर लेंगे. So that
Yes.
is the
Yes.
state of affairs in smaller towns.
Right.
So so that is the so so how do you feel that this according to you can be mitigated and better communicated कि यार ये it is not okay and it is fine to raise questions.
Right. So, till now, I actually told about how perception of a person from a design background thinks about the standards and the accessibility and everything. And also, they think that nobody is going to use the space, and I mean, let's make it cost effective. They think that removing accessibility will become cost effective. I mean, they'll cut the cost and they'll make the building, and then later part, if somebody is asking about it, then let's see what happens then. It's the kind of attitude that they carry. And so one thing to be understood here is that accessible design will actually cut the cost than the retrofitting part later. So when understanding of accessible design and retrofitting is there, within the designers and like everybody who is involved in the built environment, I can say. The civil engineers and the builders and the contractors, if they understand, because it's not only in the hands of architect, because architect will actually design, try to incorporate these things, but then after going to the site and after multiple changes that are being done there, with the structural engineer and with the contractor and with the builder and everybody who is actually implementing that on ground, executing that, there it's a long process. I mean, it's a continuous process that from the design stage till executing that, everything should be monitored. That these things are really carry forwarded to the design, the construction stage or not. These are just left in the plan and then not implemented in the construction. This part is actually missing, that lack of understanding about accessible design and retrofitting, first thing, and then coming to the understanding of students on these concepts, universal design, accessible design. Sorry? Syllabus, yeah. So as I told about my own experience with the curriculum part, so we were introduced, but it was actually considered as an elective subject. So it was not a part of mainstream subject, or it was not taught such a way to the student that the student should really focus on this whenever they are doing any sort of building, because throughout the our 5 years we have overall we have 9 design projects. So every year we have 2 semesters and we have 2 design projects. So 2 design projects are something like primary school or hospital or any campus, big campus, everything. And it's like accessibility shouldn't be like disability friendly design. Rather, it can be said that it's like universally used design. It's a universal design. Then the understanding of the student will slowly shift towards considering diverse set of users. Otherwise, it will be like, okay, only disabled friendly design, barrier free design is equal to disabled friendly design, and you don't see any disabled using it, so you don't have to make it. This is the kind of attitude. So when concepts of disability, gender, diverse set of users, their needs and accommodations, these concepts were introduced since the beginning along with the design. It shouldn't be like a separate subject. It should be included with the mainstream subject. If they include this way, then the thinking slowly take a shift, and slowly students will start understanding that, okay, this is for everybody. This is not limited to disabled people. Because so for a child, or child using a built environment, for a person like women, maybe in her pregnancy she's using it, or maybe non-binary gender who is using the built environment, or maybe a person who is having temporary limitation, temporary mobility limitation, like he met with some accident and he got a fracture or something, and during that he is using that built environment. And a person who is a senior citizen who is having mobility limitations again. So if we think about these set of users, not only disabled, then the understanding of accessible design, accessibility will change in the student's mindset and also in the professor's mindset. It's the same with the professors also. They don't really encourage the students to consider these things. So now talking about, I told about the accessibility and retrofitting, right? So yeah, so now I will also talk about how, till now I only spoke about the architecture fraternity and the background and everything, but I would like to highlight this point that we all can actually contribute to make our society accessible for all, like make it inclusive for all. Everybody can actually contribute. It's not only with the architecture, or it's not only with the design or civil engineering or anybody in the built environment. Like anybody using this built environment can actually contribute. That means society can contribute. So how we can actually do this? So now in this busy rush schedules we have, this what do you say? Everybody became very much selfish, self-centered, that they only think about themselves at that point. Ki, okay, we are going, we are using, it's fine for us, so we don't have to think about anybody else. So this is not how we are going to deal with inclusion. When we say, we just use these terms like a fancy thing that, okay, it's inclusive, we are supporting inclusion. This is not going to happen that way. If we put up any post on social media or talk about it on maybe one particular speech, it should actually become a practice that first thing, we have to be very conscious about what is happening around, who are we interacting with, how we are interacting with, everything it should start from within, like from us, how we are. It's not like I acquired disability, that is the reason why I'm actually stressing on accessibility. This is not the case. My understanding towards accessibility slowly shifted. My lived experiences actually helped me to understand it in a better way. It's not like I have disability, that's the reason why I'm actually raising my voice for accessibility.
Correct.
So that understanding should also be there with everybody in using this built environment. And if we start if we become conscious and if we are aware what is happening around, then we'll actually understand that disability is not something that is a separate set. It is kind of it can happen to you at any point of time in your life. It can happen to you with anybody in your family. It can even happen if you are not becoming disabled maybe by your 50 or 60, but later part you will also develop some kind of limitation, and you can't really use the same built environment the way how you used it before. So there you also again need some kind of accommodation at that point. So now understanding the demographics and the shift we have in India, like the increased population and increased risk of health care. I mean, so many health conditions. We are people are developing many health conditions nowadays. So are we really prepared to accommodate everybody in the coming maybe decades, like within a decade or maybe two? Are we really prepared? Is our built environment ready? Is our infrastructure ready to accommodate these like huge population? All these things are not not something which is कुछ तो नया चीज है, कुछ नहीं है. It's actually like our regular thing that हम हमारा अगर फ्यूचर सोच रहे हैं तो हम क्या प्रिपेयर्ड है इसके लिए. ये चीज सिर्फ डिजाइन के बैकग्राउंड के बात नहीं कर रही हूँ. It should be from everybody. So the context of education should actually include demographics in their studies, make them understand the shift of demographics and how sustainable we can build our future. So sustainable development should be there, a part of it. And again, social issues, whatever issues we are facing, these things also to be included when they are teaching something. It's not always like they are teaching some subject or maybe they are teaching some story in the history, and then we are not really bothered what we are just learning it for the sake of learning it in that particular standard, and later part we just forget it. That's not really useful for us. बाहर आने के बाद we really forget. वो सिर्फ उसी टाइम पे काम आता है. मार्क्स मतलब उस टाइम पे वो क्या बोलते हैं, वो रेस पे मतलब पहुंचने के लिए, वो कंपटीशन के लिए काम आता है. बट if these things are actually included, demographics, sustainable development, and then social issues and like political issues which are happening, these all things, if these were involved and these were taught to the children like schools में फिर colleges में subjects के साथ अगर ये सारी चीजें include करते हैं तो we can really expect something I mean in the change of mindsets. If the mindset is changed, then we can think of like inclusion on the right grounds. So how a normal person can also contribute to the accessible built environment, ये मैं बता रही थी. तो
Simple steps, so that if you are thinking, if you are just walking on a street and if you are maybe accessing some building, and if you think that okay, this building has stairs, and if this building, if someone from your family or maybe friends or anybody with disability is accessing this building, how can they actually come to this building? कैसे है ये welcoming है ये building उनके लिए? Can this building
Correct.
accommodate them? ये जो एक question है ना, this will change the entire thing. Like if this is if this thought is I mean, if you consider this thought at least, so then you
Yeah.
will think कि हाँ, this building is not really accessible. ये इसके लिए स्टैंडर्ड सीखने की जरूरत नहीं है, इसके लिए बैकग्राउंड मतलब एक्सेसिबिलिटी टर्म क्या है, उसका मीनिंग क्या है, डेफिनेशन क्या है, ये सब सीखने की जरूरत नहीं है. सो हम डिकोड कर रहे हैं एक्सेसिबिलिटी को. सो दिस इज आई थिंक this is what we really meant in the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
And also,
yeah,
just a closing remark, actually,
right.
very much articulated, very, very well articulated by Kavya. But for me, accessibility is also not an individual thing. I feel that until and unless political system and political parties also raise these issues. For instance,
Definitely, yeah.
I'm not talking about the assembly elections or the Lok Sabha elections. I'm talking like from a panchayat level. Like for instance, if a panchayat is not accessible, can it become an election issue for that particular village or constituency for that particular thing? And if that can become a political and that can become an electoral issue, so that can be a small likewise in the cities also we can, like in the mayor election, we can raise the issues from a very pragmatic level. So
Yeah,
I feel that what as a citizen we have a responsibility to contribute, but I feel that it is the political system and the decision
definitely.
makers also, they should also be enforced to make these provisions actually. And
But I
then
think these two are interconnected. As I mean, I see this way. Ki if
Hmm.
people have this understanding and like you have maybe chunk of people who are really trying to talk about it or maybe bring something
Yeah,
onto the table. So
most of the time what happens our demands are not articulated properly through a channel.
properly.
ठीक
Yes,
है ना
yes,
उसमें
yes.
the role of civil society organizations also come in, because here you can't expect that government will make the changes all of a sudden. You have to have a constant engagement with them कि हाँ ये रिक्वायरमेंट है और ये चीज प्रैक्टिकल हो सकता है एंड ठीक है मतलब अल्टीमेट चीज अचीव नहीं होगा, बट देयर हैज टू बी सम लाइक कि अगर एक step by step if we can do that, it will be great. And in fact it has been done in like cities in Mumbai, and I have felt that there are many there was the case of low floor buses actually. In fact in
Yeah.
Delhi I feel that there was a
In
case that
Bangalore,
हाँ लो फ्लोर बसेस का बात हुआ था, उसके बाद दैट वाज नॉट एक्सेसिबल एंड उसके बाद इनफैक्ट द सुप्रीम कोर्ट intervened and they were like forced to actually roll in that inaccessible bus, and then low floor bus was introduced and with the accessible features and that. So but in a small town, it is very important that discourse is taken up by the civil society organization on a more frequent basis. And I
yes,
think that is where our role as a fellow and as person with disability, it is our
yes,
role to galvanize those kind of forces in our
right,
respective city.
yes.
So I feel we had like it is almost 7:06. So I think we have had a very good discussion, and I feel that this is just a
I mean,
beginning.
if I'm still thinking, I missed out of few other important things also, but I think it's a never-ending like debate
Yeah,
or discussion that I can say. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. In fact, we can continue this discussion, and in fact, I am planning to do this in a much broader manner with many guests, and yeah, if we can bring in some policy makers and in fact people who matter, then we can
Right.
have a more constructive debate and discussion. So
Yes. So before that, just I wanted to like complete that what I thought of
yeah,
contribution of
completely.
every
Yes,
individual
yes,
there. So there is one app called Accessible Sugamya Bharat app, Accessible India Campaign app.
yes.
So this is introduced by the government, like when this Accessible India campaign launched. After a few years, then they developed this app also. So this app is particularly to raise a complaint whenever you see something is missing in the accessibility, like accessibility as in, again, this is not limited to physical accessibility, as in built environment ka hi nahi, accessibility in transport, accessibility in websites, like आप बहुत सारे websites regular basis में use करते हो. So for me, I'm a screen reader user. I have vision impairment. So for me, if I have to access a website, I always face a lot of issues because of the clutterness of the website and like easily navigate करने का जो user friendly interface होता है, if that is not there, I always face issues with that. So ये ऐसे चीजों में you can actually raise a complaint. Like if it is with built environment, I can simply give one of my experiences as an example. I went to a bank nearby and it is on the first floor and there is no lift and there is no ramp provided to reach to the first floor of the bank. The bank is actually on the first floor. So I clicked a picture of it and then I complained about the bank. I don't want to take the name of the bank here, but then when I did this, after maybe a week or 10 days, I received a response on mail from the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan that they said they are forwarding this complaint to the bank officials and the local authority who is dealing with accessibility in Visakhapatnam. And then later part, within maybe 15 days, I received a call from them that what is the exact issue you faced with the premises and what are the available facilities there, and did you ask the bank people that this is not against the standards, because everybody like bank should be open to all, it shouldn't be limited to somebody, right? So these things were questioned to me and then I answered them and I described about the issue. Then they said that okay, they are forwarding this to the local disability commissioner, whoever is dealing here, and then from there I again received a call that they were actually reaching out to the bank to directly, like in person, submit a complaining that like this is taking forward the complaint to them and reporting to the direct bank manager to get the check of accessibility auditing done for the bank, and maybe if they are against with this lift idea, that including a lift there, then shift the bank to a separate building where they can actually provide this facility, maybe on the ground floor, and making it accessible for everybody. So this was like one of my experiences. There are other experiences as well, but then I'm just giving this because this is just like I clicked the picture and I wrote what I faced about the barrier, and then I submitted it. It's on your phone. So these set of things can be done from maybe anywhere, that if you see any kind of like barriers in your environment, maybe you are not facing, if it is not affecting you, but it can affect so many people, and it is actually limiting many people to their homes. They are not able to come out and take part in the society. So that's how you can contribute from your end as well.
Yeah, correct. And it's very important that we should use those tools more frequently, and it should be more interactive. It should not be that ki ek kiya to, it should not be individual effort. And again, the user interface also, I feel that it has to be improved somehow. If I remember, it was somehow it was not it was freezing. It freezes sometimes. It work does not work. So if more people will use that, that part will also be raised and looked after from there.
Mahavir, before ending the session, just read out the comments section also, then we'll wrap it up here, okay?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up and question. Okay,
Yes.
by okay.
Because there were so many comments
Question.
coming up and we
And
couldn't
question
read.
by Anjali. The railway here in Bhandra has tactile placed all over the bridge and at the railway platform also. When I lodged the grievance, I was told that it's placed for anti-skid purposes. What do I do next? How to make them replace the tiles?
I think about this particular issue, Anjali ने complain किया था about the
Hmm.
tactile thing in the railway stations, and she
Yeah.
received a response also from them, and they were like, I mean, the understanding of tactile tiles itself is kind of designer tiles करके बोलते हैं उनको, मतलब ऐसे दिखाने के
Hmm.
लिए अच्छा लगता है तो वो पैटर्न में डाल देंगे करके, ऐसा एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी है within the contractors and the builders, and I mean whoever are actually considering these things there.
Hmm.
So उनका बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऐसा रहता है कि डिजाइनर टाइल्स है, ये बहुत अच्छा दिखेगा, उठ के आएगा पूरा डिजाइन, तो या
Yeah, there's
the right use of
this
tactile.
red and yellow tiles they use, very contrasting tiles.
Yep.
So that is that is something. It is dependent on the
Thank you so much,
authority.
Lajwanti Naidu ma'am. So ma'am wrote something in the comments. Can you read out, Mahavir,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the comment?
She said that she will love to participate in our discussion, and I think uh, I think you know her better. So
Yes,
obviously we can
definitely.
invite her
I
in the
mean, I
discussion.
think, so we can plan a session with ma'am as well, and she can share a lot of inputs that she have been working in the capacity building and responsive tourism, responsible
Correct.
tourism. Sorry to correct. So she is involved in the development of blue flag beaches in Andhra Pradesh. So I have interacted with ma'am quite often, and yeah, it was a very good experience with ma'am, that she's having a lot of insights that she can share. So I think you can plan a session with her as well in future. And also please let me be a part of it.
Uh, and I
Yeah.
wish the school should be renamed as Deaf and Mute. It is again comment by Lajwanti ma'am. Dumb
Okay,
is
so
not the
there are,
appropriate word.
right. So we can, I think you can also have something on disability etiquettes that are being followed, and I mean that's not. I'm not very much familiar with that, but I know that I have read, so I know what are the etiquettes and all. But you can maybe bring somebody who can really talk about the disability etiquettes, and yeah,
Correct.
right.
Yeah, Anjali also replies to that question. I think deaf itself constitute the hearing and the hearing speech and hearing impairment. There is no need of any additional term, just deaf. In fact, that deaf word is also problematic for to me.
Hard of hearing, people say again, and I don't. I mean, I heard it differently. Like views are different on this particular subject.
Mm,
So yeah.
yeah. Rajvati ma'am, she wants to we will invite her, and in fact, we are having some discussion with our NCPEDP in that case if we can connect to NIUA or some institutions like that. That would be great way to start a discussion.
Yes, I think maybe in future discussions, I have this again another point that like we in like in built environment we have this challenge of retrofitting of old buildings which were constructed, and there is no scope of retrofitting. And then again, this challenge is that they have to make it accessible. So this way also the deadline has been extended on this basis also, that how they can actually incorporate the retrofitting standards and everything within the limits. Like they don't have any space that they can include, I mean, introduce a ramp. I'm just giving a small example. So maybe this is a like again a big issue, that like very important issue that is being faced by the accessibility auditing team. So maybe
Yeah.
in future you can also touch upon these things and like have like a separate discussion. Yeah.
Hmm. So we can wrap it up. Actually, I also
Yes.
had a example, just for a short while I can give you that when I was doing my internship in Mumbai in architects planners with Paul Kumta ma'am actually.
Right.
Her firm is Nature Nurture Architects Planners. So I was working with Shipping Corporation of India actually, and the job was to build two accessible toilets. One of the toilet was actually used to be was supposed to be built in the ground floor, and the second one was on the seventh floor. And
Seventh floor.
I seventh floor, yeah, seventh floor.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I when I went up, I found that the lift went up to only sixth floor. Okay, and
Uh-huh.
after sixth floor you have to climb the stairs and then go to the seventh floor, and there
Okay. So the accessible toilet is placed on the seventh floor, and they don't have this lift
yeah,
provision
so lift
there.
is not going there. So I feel that I said that why you are in fact constructing the accessible toilet at the first place. First you make the then they showed me a sideway lift कि वहां से एक lift है, and I actually saw that that lift was very small and that lift it was not accessible at all. Wheelchair can't enter that that lift.
Lift.
So I think that the whole exercise is not मतलब कि either you make sure that the main lift goes up to
If
हाँ
Yeah,
तो
so this is a perfect
वो
example that like resources जो है वो बहुत अच्छे लेवल से मतलब लेवल पे वेस्ट हो रहे हैं,
yeah,
like people are not doing it in a right way, and again trying to cover it up with something else, like we have a
yeah.
side lift and you can use it. Utterly rubbish.
Sizes and
Anyway,
not even for lift. I'm talking about the पुराना वो like grill वाला lift like
grill wala,
that
okay, very small grill wala, like,
very
okay,
small grill.
got
You
it.
can't even enter that place, and that was supposed to be a common conference hall actually. So that hall should be would expect more visitors actually.
Right.
So that should be that is the state, and in fact, that this kind of discussion happened because that junior engineer was aware. He accepted that there is a lacuna, but there was very less he could do that actually. He said that it is a separate tender and it will take a long time actually. So so they are also helpless in some instance. Though, in fact, I feel that this whole retrofitting thing is also a facade because we have to move in a place that the building is from conception itself, which is like extreme. And
Yes.
I know it is a hard task, but I feel whenever we talk about retrofitting, it has to be understood in context कि यार मतलब कि retrofitting temporary solution है, but जो inclusive जो design है वो आपको replace करना ही पड़ेगा, आज ना कल
Yeah.
10 साल बाद 15 साल बाद करना ही पड़ेगा. You have to
Yeah.
think in that manner. Anyways,
We
I
can
feel
talk
that
long and long. I mean, on and on we can talk on
yeah,
accessibility.
so
I
we
won't
will
shut.
conclude the
Anyway,
discussion. Thank
yeah.
you for joining, and it was a very good discussion, I feel, and we'll have more discussion like that. Thank you
Yes.
for joining, and thank you all the participants who
It was very
heard us.
interactive because they were providing their like they are sharing their experiences and also asking questions and then providing their inputs, and also same time we were all together learning. So it was a very good interaction, I can say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah.